Welcome. In this discussion, I have the privilege of interviewing Scott Laughlin and his business partner, Bill Schnoebelen. Now, Scott and Bill are working on a new venture called Steel Nature. Steel Nature is a bespoke fabrication company that specializes in the manufacturing of high-end planter boxes for residential units. It was very interesting to hear their origin story as co-founders, how they've been friends for many years, and how things really came together to give them the opportunity for this current initiative. Now, Bill is the engineering co-founder, and Scott is leading the charge as a marketing co-founder. Together, they make a dynamic duo, and it was a privilege facilitating the conversation. Unfortunately, we ran into some technical difficulties on the video feed side during post-production, and due to that, you'll notice my video feed didn't make the cut for most of the conversation. That isn't enough to stop us showcasing this story, though. The conversation was great, insightful, and highly recommended. So without further ado, I give you Scott Laughlin and Bill Schnoebelen. All right, gentlemen, we are live. Welcome.
Right. Thank you.
Scott, Bill, it's good to see you both.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. You know, Scott, after our last conversation, I left with a new level of respect for project management, but also I was fascinated with your experience. I love seeing the shorts that came out after the fact. It kind of reminded me of some of those highlights. And when we were discussing, how we could keep the conversation going afterwards, I love the idea of meeting Bill, your business partner, and expanding the founder's story, but also talking about the vision for the future and how you and Bill are capitalizing on a really cool new market opportunity. And so I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, lots changed since in the fast world of trying to make something happen since our last conversation. Bill and I have been friends for a long time, but we weren't yet collaborating on this project. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we're always, over the years, we always talked about it, and it's like we're always busy on something else. And this is like kind of a point where, Scott had some time, I had a new project, and he jumped right into it. So it kind of worked out really well.
Everything came together at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So
yeah,
perhaps you could provide, Scott, Bill, we could talk a little bit about what you guys are working on and in the current state, and then maybe we could sort of backtrack from there and hear some about how you guys know each other. I know before we hit record, you shared some early days of dirt biking and previous adventures. So I'd love to just provide an anchor for the conversation, which is, what are you guys working on?
Yeah, I'll give a brief summary, and then Bill will fill in the gaps since he actually is the one who got traction for this. But basically, I do digital marketing and have for a long time, and Bill's been running a machine shop for I'm not gonna steal his thunder, and I'll describe it wrong, but everything from
20
biomedical to circuit boards and all kinds of stuff, and his neighbor is a contractor and basically needed some planter boxes in San Francisco. So the short of it is the company name is Steel Nature, and we are building custom size and fit planter boxes for these really high-end homes in San Francisco, where the garden goes on the roof or is part of the architecture, like attached to a wall. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in the future. We're talking to customers and learning. And there's kind of an extensive evolving roadmap of where we could go product-wise with this. But that's the short of it, and I'll let Bill kind of fill in from there.
Yeah, so kind of how I got into this is during COVID. I was pretty much all my customers dried up because nobody was working. But the construction field was booming. And I did construction way back when, like in college. But this, my neighbor, who's my neighbor at my house, but also we shared a shop together. He was doing a lot of metal projects because that's now trendy. So a lot of metal fascia and stuff like that. And he was having a hard time finding people to do that. So I kind of jumped in and shifted over and did that for a while. And then he came to me with some planter, well, the first planter box, and we built that one in my buddy's garage, who I've worked with forever, Nick. And we then they came to me with a bunch of several more planter boxes. It seemed to be a trend, and then we figured out better. I in that time I moved to from San Francisco, my shop in San Francisco, which was about 700 square feet, to up here, which I got about 10,000 square feet. But also the sheet metal business up here is completely different than it is in the Bay Area. The Bay Area is a lot of electronics, like this box behind me. But up here, it's a lot of farm equipment. So big metal components. So we found a vendor that was able to make these for us, and they've got the sandblasting, they've got this powder coating, they've got an oven that can fit tractors, and these are big planters. So we really got the price down on them. And then talking to Scott, he wasn't he was looking for new business, so new things to market, and that's how we got into the plant. That's how we started Steel Nature and the box business. And these are really forever planters. They're not going to go away. They're 3/16 thick steel, very heavy, very. They are I guess, the talking point of a room.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing that, Bill.
Yeah.
Question. Choosing a business partner, a co-founder, is a huge decision. Starting a business or bringing a team member, even if you are friends, even if you have known each other for a while, is a big decision. Can you anchor us back into the origin story between you two as friends, and how that unfolded over the years?
Yeah, Scott, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. I had gone through a divorce. I was in this totally transitional stage of life, and as a kid, I rode dirt bikes, and my wife would have none of it, so no dirt bike for me. So the first thing I did was buy a dirt bike, the very first thing, and then I went on Craigslist to find friends to ride with. And this woman, Julie, who we call her Mother Hen, she pretended to be a dude because she didn't want to, stalkers online. And I talked to her. I thought, gosh, she's awfully chatty for a dude. This is kind of weird, but okay, we'll go riding. And then she revealed, who she was, and she had kind of we joked that all of us in this group, all of our lives were from Craigslist, motorcycles from Craigslist, apartments from Craigslist, jobs from Craigslist, friends from Craigslist. Our whole existence in San Francisco at the time, it's not that way now, but at the time that was the center. So we met. We were kind of this motley crew, and there was a few of us. And to make the story short, you click with some people better than others, and Bill and I clicked really well, and we both wanted to start racing, and so we went on these rides and events. We do it with a bunch of people on these weekend camping trips, and then he and I were the only ones who really wanted to race. So we would do all these trips, and we got to know each other pretty well, and lots of planning. You got to do bike prep. You got to do all kinds of stuff to plan, and kind of the drama of how you work together in a startup. We kind of worked that out as racing buddies.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We already know when each other is stressed. That's you show up to a race and your bike won't pass inspection, and now you got to go find a silencer somewhere in the crowd. It's
Oh, yeah, I
or
remember that. He
wire
made
tie
one.
something together. Yeah. Ready to race.
He,
Oh well, it won't pass a noise inspection.
he tried to make a spark arrestor out of a beer can and pass inspection. And I
I,
don't think it worked. And
I think it was a
another time
Red
we
Bull
went
can.
to
It did work. They just
it
wouldn't
did
pass
work.
it because it wasn't factory.
Yeah, but we both kind of there's kind of an easiness of like, oh, you want to do that? Okay, let's go do that. And so even when there are pivots in the business, it's like instead of getting your haunches up, that's not the plan. We're like, hey, this is iterative. We're gonna learn. We don't know the plan, but we'll get there by just sort of keeping a loose hand and trying things. But yeah, everything from going to the wrong side of a national park because we didn't look at the directions ahead of time, and then I don't know, just funny stories. We got to know each other on these road trips, and
Driving down hills in the snow that we're wondering if we get back up.
oh yeah, yeah, tons of stuff.
Getting lost in the middle of nowhere when our phones die. It's
Yeah, we always get lost. We go desert riding in Nevada outside of Reno, and get disoriented because all the hills look the same after a while, and the sun would be setting, and we have to kind of figure out how to get back to
yeah,
camp,
that
and we
that
always
trip was
did.
that trip was interesting because we were testing the GoPro, which was back before the GoPro was out, and we're testing the GoPro as test riders or something. They needed somebody on dirt bikes to test it, and that's what we were doing.
Yeah, some venture capitalists. This is San Francisco, and this is what
Gave
happens
us
there.
GoPros and a bunch of this is
They
before
gave us,
GoPro was even known.
yeah, they gave us GoPros and said, "Hey, go try these out and tell us if this is worth investing in." So we was like, "Cool, free GoPros."
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. That was that trip, and they didn't pay us for it, but they gave us free GoPros. So
that's
that's
right.
Nice.
That
yeah.
was a trip that we went and we didn't know where to go ride in Nevada, so we asked the guy, "Hey, where do we stage here? Where do we go ride?" Because I was kind of new to dirt bike. I've ridden motorcycles, but I got my first dirt bike, and that's when I met Scott. And we're asking the guy from Nevada, "Where do we go ride?" He goes, "You see that over there? That's California. See that over there? That's Nevada. You could ride anywhere you're man enough to ride." And that's what we did.
It's great. Yeah, yeah.
That
So
was
we
awesome. Yep.
yeah. So long history there, and then have
And one of the
dogs.
things, if it's somebody starting out, I would, and this is some advice that I got after I kept on making a mistake. Um, if you have a partner, they may be gung ho and oh, it's all, it's a lot of talk and it sounds great. But until you actually start doing the work and, it's actually the daily grind of calling the customers and everything else and doing the designs and taking care of all the problems, that's where you really start to see, if you're a good fit for a partner. What somebody recommended to me is really do small projects before, and that's I think me and Scott did that with the dirt biking. Do small projects before you go and do the big project. Make sure you're compatible. Otherwise, it could just be frustrating, is what it ends up being.
Yeah, I had in business school. I partnered with a classmate, and on a startup, and there were issues there. And then more recently, with a good friend, and he's a good friend, but and we're going to do some stuff together. But you learn about people when you get in the trenches. Like I had this real estate venture I was going to do with him, um, and he talked a big talk, but was gun shy when it came to actually executing. So yeah, you just don't. It's hard to suss out a new partner, someone you're going to work with, and if you're fortunate to have uh, history with someone where you kind of know what they're like under pressure and all that, it can remove a lot of the drama that kills early stage companies, I think. So, yeah.
And I also like working with Scott because he's not afraid to adapt. So it's like, okay, we can, maybe this is where we're starting out. Well, okay, might move over here at some point.
Yeah, we're both
We've
very,
adapted a lot, that's for sure.
yeah, I default into this planning mode, but I'm more effective when it's more fluid. So it's so it's some weird balance of planning and being fluid, but it seems to work.
I think I myself as an engineer, we throw away the instructions and then put it together and then go look at the instructions. Did I do it right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like the some of the principles or some of the if I could paraphrase a few things, it's like you guys went through some fun times, some dangerous times. You guys have seen each other under stress, and that has built not just a friendship but a trust and a mutual respect. And that compatibility was a word that was brought up that I think is critical. It seems very obvious and probably business partner 101, be compatible as professionals. But I think it's important. So many times people miss the basics, and a business partner is the second most important relationship you'll probably ever get into, second to a marriage. So, but I think there's another layer that you both are pointing to beyond just knowing how an individual performs under fire through some small projects, through previous experience, having that trust and knowing that you can rely on them to execute. They're not all talk, they're not gun shy, but there's that other piece of you've mentioned adaptability, kind of a loose hand to go with the flow. You've talked about the difference between deliberate strategy and emergent strategy. And in the early stages of launch, your formal, documented, deliberate strategy may just be something like a conversation. And then you go out into the real world, 80, 90+% of the time is all adapting operationally. So having someone who sees the picture similarly, you'd imagine someone ultra neurotic as a bean counter and someone who's go with the flow that may not be the most compatible out of the gate. So having compatibility in the ways it matters as founders, being adaptable in this case, and trusting one another is some of the points that I think we could pull out of what you both have shared so far.
Yes, yes. One thing about you talk about like the marriage of it. It's you gotta communicate, you gotta talk, and you gotta talk several times a day sometimes. And okay, it's in an hour it may have changed, right? So you got to go and talk about something else. It's or what the change is, because it's right now it's developing, right? It's the
Yeah.
business is developing, our plans are developing, we're learning. I have another company, EB2 in China, and they, it's a guy I used to work with, Eddie, and he's the first one I talk to in the morning, and he's the last one I talk to at night, and we're always talking because he's in China, and in the morning it's the end of his day, at night it's the beginning of his day, so we got to communicate on how things are getting machined, what's being done, how the workflow is going, what the problems are, that sort of thing. And sometimes it's like having a wife sometimes. It's
Yeah. And then so I think that's the most important thing. But also another flaw, maybe you get the compatibility right, but the skills aren't right. Like often, you're buddies with someone who does the exact same thing you do. And that's so you got the compatibility, but but you're overlapping too much. Most of the people I've tried to do things with, like business school buddies. Well, we're both business school people. That's not necessarily the best partnership. but I'm clearly not a mechanical engineer. And Bill can hold his own with content on LinkedIn and stuff, but I have, you know, I've got the brand and business development side. So I think so it's
You're a
complementary
lot
skills.
better at finding the customers, and like, you know, I focus in my whole mindset is I'll build it and none will come. But I think that's just a dumb idea. I think it's, go find out what they want and then build it.
Yeah.
So you got to really talk to the customers and find out what their specs are. And like the one design is being able to kind of in your backyard, being able to kind of like make little private spaces out of these planter boxes without, so instead of building like a little sunroom, which would, now you got to do permits and everything else, get a construction crew in, all this other stuff. You could build it out of these planter boxes where it's a nice little serene place where you could go sit and enjoy the day.
In fact, should I share a screen? I have some photos of kind of what we're talking about that might be
By all means.
good. Let me do that. Let me get to. Oh, okay. So I'll do that really just a quick walkthrough. Okay, let's see. So yeah, there we go. Okay, you see that? Okay, it's good.
Yes, sir.
That's our homepage, and then go into here and click this one. So this is this is what one of the products looks like. So it's a really high finish, high quality custom product. This one is plumbed, so there's a pipe that comes out of the wall, and water flows in, and this tile was pre-designed for drainage, and this sits on top of it, and so it's like it's not just buy a planter box and stick it in. It's part of this larger thing where we're actually stubbed out plumbing and set up drainage, because these really high-end customers, they don't want to get their socks wet walking across their patio because their planter's leaking, and if they have soil with tannin in it, they don't want that staining their precious patio. So it's these kind of requirements. And then going back, this was a this is an exact shot, but basically it was this alleyway that was totally unused space.
Or a gangway.
A gangway, yeah. And they turned it into a really nice space with a guest room that opens up to it. And so that's kind of what we're doing. And then this other one.
So apparently people not from Chicago don't call them gangways. They're called breezeways. The spaces between two houses.
Yeah. And here's one where here's the finished installed product. And here's the same product, but not painted yet. But basically, this is custom fit. So it's a very heavy unit attached to a wall. So you have to engineer it to handle the weight and to mount properly. And this doesn't look like it, but this is a $4 million house in San Francisco, which maybe North Carolina would be $250,000, but in San Francisco, add a zero. And that's what you get for $4 million right there. That's it. Welcome to the insanity.
That house is actually pretty cool, though. You go inside, it's very beautiful, and then they've got a whole nice roof deck up on top. There's actually 2 roof decks, which is and it's got great views.
Yeah, I bet. I'm trying to find a. This is a shop. This is great.
Yeah, that was my old shop.
That's your old shop, yeah. anyway, yeah, we don't need to dwell. I'm trying to find I don't think we have the right architectural plan. I think this was that's the new plan, right? That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
They added
yeah.
this
It's got that
whole,
little balcony there, and it's got a electronic sunroof. So you press a button and it opens up, and you go up to that patio up there.
yeah, pretty cool. And, there's planter boxes up here. This is the planter box that we built, that Bill built for them. And this,
We did all the railing, all the fascia. We did quite a bit on that one.
yeah, it's the proof of concept that's Bill's neighbors in their project. So now we've got a little proof of concept, and we're learning as we go, and trying to find people to talk to, landscape architects, urban architects, builders, who to understand really kind of what do they just want a custom fit box, or do they want all the plumbing and ready to go, just add a plant. And anyway, so that's kind of where we are. But yeah, it's cool.
Thanks for sharing that, Scott. When you think of where you're at now and where you're moving towards, you've got a solid background in iteration and using evidence, using actual traction to guide product development. How are you thinking of this? How are you approaching the pursuit of validation here?
That's a good question, because I have traditionally in more mature companies, it's kind of this very starts out kind of waterfall with, I've got this plan and I've got these hypotheses, and now let's go agile and let's validate. And so it's kind of this planning, and then these are the experiments we're going to run, and it's very kind of structured top down, and it always felt a little artificial to me, but it's kind of the way product companies do this. And I'm finding that you need to be a lot more fluid. So this is a funny story I'm gonna tell for that engineered. We engineered this, I can't take credit for this. Bill engineered this box for installation, and then and kind of the things we want to say is, hey, it's exact fit, it's perfect finish, and it's designed for ease of installation. And I guess he got on the field and realized that you can't access the bolts. So there's still some learning, and it's funny. I think it's a great story, but basically the way I'm approaching it is keep all those frameworks in the back of my mind and pull them out when needed, but don't. When you work for someone, it's all about kind of showing that it's a lot of proving yourself and showing that, hey, I've got all these right methods and doing all this process. It's all very buttoned up. But in the real world, it's just, you use it all, but you throw out the window a bit. And let's just talk to people and find out what they want. We'll document it when we have time, and we'll iterate and try to, delight people with a custom product. And then I think when that rigor will come back is when we start to standardize some things. So when it's fully custom, we can talk to a customer and get it exactly the way they want, and they're going to love it, and we're going to have something to show for it. But if we're talking about, hey, we think that a lot of people are going to want this specific standard size with these kind of features, and so we're going to work with Bill's contact in China to produce a container full and bring them back. You want to get
that gets the price point down. So the original Tesla model was, sell. I forgot what the original Tesla was named, but it was basically sell $100,000 car back then. But it was going to be a lot of collectors were going to buy it. Collectors are going to just jump on board and reach people. That's sort of where we're going with this, to where the money is to learn how to build it, because on that one that Scott showed, there was a lot that we didn't know was going on behind the scenes, such as the drain tile, such as the plumbing coming in. So a lot of that was already thought out for us, and we just did a spec design planter box. But what we're kind of learning is in sort of the mainstream, where you don't have a architectural designer and a landscape company helping you. People really want the package that I get a planter box and it's pretty much automated with the watering system, or I wouldn't say automated. I should say a little less idiot proof.
Turnkey, just ready to. It's
Turnkey,
that.
yeah.
It's a classic innovator's dilemma, where you've got your early adopters and innovators, early adopters, and they want the shiny object. So they'll. And the last company I worked for was going through a transition where they were booming with early adopters, but the market was maturing really fast, and prior partners were becoming competitors, and they needed to pivot, and they weren't pivoting fast enough to a more mature market. So it goes from, hey, show me what's shiny, to, hey, show me what's proven. It's a totally different market, and it's not a new thing. The theory has been around a long time, but you've got your these kind of urban architects who are with venture capital clients, and the people who fund all these companies are the ones buying these homes, and they've got money to throw around, and learn on them, and then we'll standardize some products and go after a more of show me what works.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say they're teaching us because they have the money to be able to bring professionals in, I guess is a good way of putting that. So we're learning what the product needs to do.
Yeah.
And when I initially thought of it, I think I was thinking of like, I used to do before marijuana was illegal, I was designing grow, in anticipation of the legalization, I was designing marijuana grow chambers, which were pallet sized, and those were ebb and flow, there was quite a few electronics on there for the nutrients, so you could mix the nutrients as the nutrients were needed. There were sun actually light sensors. There are moisture sensors, so the plant could get exactly what it needed. And I think initially I kind of overthought this, and really all we got to do is just make sure that these plants are in soil, so it's a lot simpler. They get sun because the sun's pretty regular, and all we really got to do is make sure they get water. So it's a lot simpler. That was quite a few years ago, before marijuana was legal in California. Can't remember how many years, but now the electronics are so much simpler. Like it's something that I don't need a team of electrical engineers. It's something I could do myself. It's Arduino based, which I've done boards with Arduino before.
Yeah,
and then we just got to see if the market's going to accept that and want that, and
yeah, and assisting with that, I have this SEO background, and so I did a quick search, and the top search volumes terms are it's like large commercial planters and self-watering planters. So it sort of and the conversations we're having support
water.
Yeah. It's so there's lots of weird ways around of understanding a market. And search volume is a really overlooked shortcut. It's a great way to find out what people want. What are they searching for? Well, that's what they want.
I'm wondering if you could unpack the tools of the trade a little bit on this, Scott. Walk us through tactically what it looks like to take that shortcut.
Oh yeah. So there's a bunch of tools you can use. You can I use Ahrefs, which is an SEO tool, but you can also just it used to be easier to use. Now it's kind of gated. If you have a paid search account with Google, you can use their tool to do keyword discovery. But basically, let's see. Actually, maybe I'll just it's easier to show than tell. So let's see. I'll go here. Share screen again. Yeah, here and yeah, I just so keyword explore, and then it's like, I'm interested in planter market, so let's see what's happening with planters. And I've got my keyword groups down here that you can see, but let's assume I don't have those yet. And this tool will give you, will kind of show you, here are the terms that match. So like planters is big, self-watering planters. There's sort of things that are totally unrelated to planters, but it's but outdoor planters, hanging planters, and we're not interested in hanging planters, but outdoor planters. So it gives you questions. And so if I click on this, it'll basically, it gives you a sense of the volume. So I can look at all the different terms related to planters, and here's a search volume. So you can see that there's high search volume for planters, and the next biggest term is self-watering planters. And then I went and let's see, I organized these into keyword groups, and I looked at the themes, because it's not just the term. I said it's not, but what is the group? So let's see, is this the one? Is this the one? So I had a different section for the group, and if I see, if I remove all the, this is a short list, this is the longer list. If I look at, let's see, I'm going to go back to here and get rid of the blanks. So by group, custom size has the biggest search volume. The sum of individual queries add up and make tall, large, custom, and outdoor. The kind of the biggest category. That's what people are looking for. And then next is like custom mount, so wall, railing, rooftop, and then self-watering is actually after that, if you look at it more aggregate, and then garden, patio, deck, raised. So these are the kind of the modifiers for planter. And then, because we were we started branding ourselves as we're the architectural planter box company. But that was before I did the search volume, and that only gets, that's that's 4,000 searches per month for architectural, but in commercial gets more actually it's only 200 for architectural planters, but the group, if I look at the sum of terms that are related to that, there's more opportunity there. So I go through a couple of hoops to kind of find out not just the term, but the theme and what's popular, and that helps shortcut what customers are actually looking for, what they care about. And it also is a pretty useful guide for content. So I'm going to create landing pages for each of these, and we'll start to rank for those, and we'll get traffic. We're currently going after the commercial market, so we'll probably get a lot of traffic that isn't relevant because, you can go to like Wayfair and get planter boxes that are prefab, kind of cheap. But that's not what we're selling here. We're selling like really thick steel. We can powder coat in any finish, or we can do this sort of rust. It's called Corten steel. And there's good search volume for Corten steel. So it's kind of custom finish. But what the commercial people are looking for after filtering this, they want custom size, and they want custom mount, and they want self-watering. And those are the themes that I glean from the data that help guide brand messaging, SEO, content, and product development. That's kind of how I
Awesome.
think. I'm a very non-linear. I don't do things the way most people do. My mind doesn't work that way, and that's an advantage. But that's how I think. I just sort of I see the trends in the data and go from there. So that's kind of how I integrate an SEO background into product development.
Scott, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, man.
Sure. Yeah.
As
That's
far as
awesome.
the manufacturing, I could show you kind of how that's going to go.
Sure.
That real quick. Let me just figure out how to share my screen here.
Scott, I think we could geek out on how to translate those insights from the data into market-facing collateral, or that's probably a whole other conversation. It's like, how do you unpack those individual insights even further so you know how to square up the landing page and supporting content? And so I think that's probably a key theme to explore in the next one. I love the tactical insight. Thanks for that.
Yeah, happy to do a follow-up of that. That'd be fun.
I
Sir,
agree.
can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Let me just make sure this is working here. Oh, it's got a lot of stuff in there, but it's okay. So I mean, to change this, so to change that custom length, let's say they need 65 inches by 12 inches, 65 inches by 12 inches long. And that's all I really got to do, and it'll regenerate it, and it regenerates all of the components behind that. So now I could send these to my manufacturer and be able to get the flat patterns and everything else. So we're setting up our CAD models this way, and this could be linked to a website, so somebody could just go on here, plug in some values, and get a custom planter. And to us, I would call it same, only different manufacturing. So things are going to nest differently. There'll be different scrap rates, but as far as the processes are all the same. You're still going to laser cut out the metal. You're still going to bend the metal. You're still going to weld the metal. Just the dimensions will be different. And that's sort of how we're doing the manufacturing. So so instead of one-offs, you're getting very similar products. You're not doing setups every time, which is what kills you in one-off manufacturing.
Very cool. It's impressive. Thank you for sharing that, Bill.
No problem.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if we interviewed a landscaper not in a city. She does some work in San Francisco, but she does a lot of work in the other really expensive communities in the Bay Area, the Palo Alto area, and so I lost my train of thought with that, but
So I think in terms of customization, somebody in San Francisco, they've got a very, and I kind of know this because started my shop in San Francisco, I had space and I had to fill that space, and I took so much time just to get something to fill that space. But it was well worth it because I had my shop in San Francisco. Now that I'm here, stuff spreads out. So it's sort of, it's sort of the space that you have. It's higher value to fill a space, which becomes incremental customization. I'm sorry, it becomes a variable incrementization, not increment, but variable sizes. Where if like in the suburbs, they could have incremental, they could have just different sizes, small, medium, and large, and that would fit. Versus in a city, you really want something that fits that space perfectly.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
really just a variable, customized variable.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. Seeing the two screen shares and also the website and the previous projects you guys shared earlier, seeing the CAD files and the capabilities to resize it to get that precision piece. And Scott, what you were sharing a moment ago, I think even if it's not something where a user can plug in their custom values on the site with a form, there is something on that front we can sync after this, Scott. But there's a tool called Use Summit, which builds like custom quizzes that you embed in the sites. I met the founder, I think 2 years ago. Really interesting site. That's perhaps a tangent, but I would love to see a lookbook of like two, three
Mm-hmm.
dozen mid-journey images that are all like San Francisco, like picturesque San Francisco houses, and they have these just really cool custom planters. I'm imagining them kind of coming out with greenery coming over them, and the different
Yeah.
steel and finishes. That's cool, man. I love the branding, the style you're already running with, and I think it lends itself perfectly to like the visual medium to see the inspiration.
Yeah, I agree. And part of the challenge is we don't have a lot of in our portfolio yet, and so we're going online and do we show other people's work or do we just wait till we have our own? But
Yeah,
but
I
I
mean,
like that inspiration.
this company's only what, a month old?
Yeah, we're really new. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
gotta we gotta get you into Midjourney or just GPT Pro. We use DALL-E 3. Start using the
Mhm.
AI images. And
Mock them up. Yeah.
yeah, man, Midjourney is probably still the king of the castle in that regard in terms of photorealism. Others may disagree with me. It is a heated space AI image generation, but I think you could spin off dozens of just beautiful images in Midjourney with this
Yeah.
without too much prompt engineering.
Mid-journey.
Yeah, no, I've heard of. Yeah, I haven't tried that yet, but I know
No,
that
no,
it's really.
there's something that the solar industry has been using for quite some years now that kind of show your house with solar. I'm not sure how complicated. I think
Yeah.
it uses Google Maps and puts solar on your house.
Mm. Nice.
Oh, cool.
So it's
Yeah,
it's custom to your house.
that's that's great. Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, I think that'd be a fantastic tool. I think definitely part of the marketing is have inspiration pages because
Mm.
one of the hypothesis I have is that architects are the ones specing the box. And if they don't know what is possible, it's going to limit what they design. So um, the longer term kind of marketing messaging is, hey, unlock your potential. Here's what's possible. And so inspiration, and get in with those guys and show them that, wow, there's a lot more possible. There's more possible because we have this mix of um, mass production capability, China, and ultra custom capability. Get exactly what you want for hard spaces, whether it's you can buy a planter box, but how the heck do you mount it? well, we can engineer that, or we can do a weird shape, do like one box that's a corner that instead of two. There's all kinds of stuff.
Scott, what was the name of that steel? The
Corten
rusty
steel.
steel. Corten?
Corten.
Corten.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a popular finish. These guys know about that.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. There's houses in Napa that they just make it all out of Corten.
Yeah, it's that rusty look. And then I don't know.
I've got plenty of out here. We just don't call it Corten.
Just call it rusty. Yeah. Yeah.
If my shop was in Napa, it'd stand out.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean,
yeah,
in California, if you've got a 3/16 piece of steel, it's going to take. There's no salt that you're throwing down on the road. It's going to take, hundreds of years to actually rust. It's just going to turn into Corten over time. I mean, even my shop over here, it's Jesus Christ, it's probably 100 years old. And the galvanized steel on there, it's got a really nice patina. I call it patina, or some people call it rust. And it's been 100 years and 3/16 steel with galvanized, so it's going to take a while. If it's by the ocean, it's a different story. If you're getting salt spray on it, it's not going to last very long.
Yeah. And we can like put a rust finish on it and then coat it with something.
Yeah, there's quite a few coatings out there. There's a lot of different things you could do. That's sort of why we're custom at this point, right? It's then we could jump off that bridge when we get to it.
I'll show you guys something here real quick. And I recognize we're probably getting to a place shortly where we should think about landing the plane. But check this out.
Yeah, that's all Corten.
You can see my screen all right?
Yeah, it's a little small. Yeah. Yes. Can you expand it? There you go. Those are okay, that's not. Yeah. So you just did that in Mid-Journey?
Yeah, so as we were talking, I just ginned out a few quick ones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll do that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, look, I like this one with the house. That's a sweet house. So yeah, the whole house, they made the whole house Corten still. That's insane.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing in Napa.
Are they really?
Houses. Yeah.
That's cool, man. I mean, you can do pretty serious stuff with this. I mean, you could pan the image, you could zoom out, you can upscale it 4x here, Scott, so get extremely high resolution.
All right. Well, I know what I'm doing this week.
I've never seen a house in San Francisco that was Corten, but that might be, you're getting a lot more salt, I guess, is salt spray. I'm not quite sure. You get the fog that rolls in every day.
I mean, this is something close to what the product we're discussing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I may not be, have the best eyes in the world, but that looks almost photorealistic.
That looks really good. Yeah. I'd use those.
It's amazing where the tech is these days, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man, Scott, what haven't we discussed that you feel like we should before we land the plane and set the flag for the next one?
Boy, good question. I know we're looking for people to interview. We'd love for them to buy something, but it's not about that. It's about learning but I think we covered a lot of ground. I can't think of any specific topics that we haven't touched. So, how about you? And, Bill, do you have any opinions or things you want to
Uh, Nothing I could think of, but yeah, just definitely interested in talking to people that would have knowledge in this, that would have these needs, that sort of thing.
I suppose just adding on the framework things. I know that's a theme. Is like I have these conversations, and I use a jobs to be done framework
Nice.
to just. And I'm really interested in triggers, like what triggered your search for a solution, and hindrances, like what prevents you, not just friction, but inertia, like what slows you down or prevents you. And like we talked to this woman, and um, she said that her customers are very wary of standing water, so the drainage has to really work. Or and then this hypothesis that I haven't validated yet, but that architects simply don't know it's possible. Maybe they really do. I could be very wrong on that, but assuming that so that's something I want to validate through the conversation. Like, is if you show you all these inspiring photos of what's possible, will that impact how you think
And
about
Scott, maybe
integrating?
that's something, just to, between us, I do a lot of different materials, there's, brass, other stuff that
Mm,
didn't, I'm starting to learn more materials and more architectural materials and source of architectural materials. So maybe we start keeping a list of that. Um,
yeah,
I would think a copper, copper coating over this would just be so cool looking to me. I mean, it's
yeah,
just, they would start to, that green patina on it with the plants in there. That would just look awesome.
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt.
So just showing what's possible. Yeah, I was just going to mention a framework, a way I think about it,
Not
but
quite steel, but it's,
gets to the point. It gets to the
yeah,
it
yeah.
uncovers the ideas and the roadblocks. It, it helps direct what problems to solve. So yeah,
Scott, Bill, I have the absolute highest level of respect for both of you as individuals and as a team. I love what you're doing here, and you've got a big fan out of me and a supporter. Thank you both for coming on today, sharing your story and your vision for the future. Really
Logan,
appreciate
thanks
it.
for having us.
yeah. Thanks for having us. Absolutely,
You got it,
pleasure.
guys. My hope is that this is a good one to pre-frame a follow-on discussion sometime in the near future.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
good.
agree.
Right on. All right, guys. Until that time.